everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Interstellar Modeler. So not long ago I was at the hobby store and I came across this kit here. This is a re-release of the Romulan Bird of Prey. This is of course the AMT kit, and it was re-released by Round 2. Now I can't say I was a huge fan of this kit when I was growing up, because it's been that long since this kit's been out. But I saw on the back of the box, I've torn most of this up here already, but that it looked like the kit had been retooled, because it certainly looked like it was going to include the photon emitter here, and it looked like the windows were drilled out, and so I thought there were going to be some extensive modifications. Turned out they really didn't do a whole lot. When you open the kit, you found that it was basically the same kit as the old one. The only thing they added was the photon emitter there, and they added some clear nacelles. So not really a whole lot was done. If you look at pictures of the original studio miniature, one thing that particularly stands out here is that the sides of the ship were not straight this way, they were actually angled. So I was hoping they would have done a lot more with this model, but apparently they really didn't do a whole lot. But, well, I already have it, so I'm going to go ahead and get it started. So as you can see, I've already started it, and the first thing I did was to drill out the portholes, because I plan to light this kit. And I did this first with a handheld vise to get the hole started, and then I used my Dremel to finish it up. And that was nice because it gave it a guide for the Dremel to go for, and it kept it from slipping out of place. Now along the sides of the ship there are portholes as well, just as I showed you in that picture there. However, I am not going to drill all of them out. I think to put this many portholes it would be a bit overdone, I think. So I'm going to refrain from doing that, and so what I'm going to do is just drill out a few. So as you can see here, I've got them started here along the sides. And what I'm using as my guide is a piece of masking tape that's been dropped about 4 centimeters here from the edge. And the portholes are separated about 4 centimeters from each center here and here. So I've positioned 3 here, 3 here, I'm going to put 3 here, and then 1 here. Then once I'm done with this side, I'll use that as a guide to hopefully put them in the same location on this side. Alright, so I'll keep moving along here, and I'll keep you updated as we go. Okay, so I've done a few things now. I've drilled out the portholes that you see on the sides of the ship, and I'm just going to go with what I have here, kind of keep it minimal here so that it doesn't look too overwhelming. And I also proceeded to prime the model, and prior to doing that I used 800 grit sandpaper to kind of take off the shine and the sheen. This model's pretty glossy, and I thought the paint would stick a little bit better if I did that. So I did that to all the pieces, and primed it with the gray primer. And I also went ahead and painted the inside of the ship with this chrome silver color. And you can see I've painted the interior here as well. And that's just simply to help with reflection so that we can get more light bouncing around inside. So the next step is going to be to work on the lighting now, and I'm going to go ahead, I think, with strip lighting versus just using individual LEDs. I think that will distribute light a bit more. So I will start to lay that down, and I'll show you how that looks prior to putting the ship together. Okay, just to show you how I'm going to configure the lighting, this is the lighting I'm going to use now to light the windows. What you see here are strip LED lights, and actually these are leftover pieces from my 1/350 scale Enterprise model. And what I've done was I've shortened the connectors between the strips here, and soldered them together and insulated them. And that way I don't have so much wire hanging around here. And so everything is hooked up like so, and this should provide enough lighting for all of the windows. So let me just put the top piece on, and then I will do a test lighting right now, and we'll see if it works. Okay, so you can see all the windows are lit up here. Look at the side windows here. Yeah, they're looking pretty good as well. So it looks like the distribution of light is adequate to get all the windows here. Now, as we move back here, I want you to observe as we move along here that in certain positions you'll see light shining through a porthole like that. And to avoid these bright spots here, what I'm going to do is cover the portholes with this clear plastic. I'm going to cut strips of this plastic here, frost them over with some fine sandpaper, and then install them along all the portholes here. And that way we can help diffuse the light and make the model more realistic. Okay, before I move on, I just wanted to show you how the windows turned out. So you can see the strips of plastic were pretty effective here. And as I started to try to cut the plastic for the curved areas, it just wasn't working very well. The plastic was not very flexible. So there are a couple of things I could have done. I could have just done a method where I use canopy glue. You just fill the windows with canopy glue. But I tried doing that on one window, and what ended up happening was you had a porthole that was filled in, and then you had this indentation because the canopy glue, the way it was drying, looked a lot different than the other portholes that I filled in now with these plastic. So I tried to think of what else I could do, and I came up with wax paper. So a little unconventional here, but that's what I did. I ended up using wax paper, cut it into pieces, and then glued it into place with canopy glue and white glue. And when I did a test with the lights, they actually looked the same as the plastic. So that's what I decided to do, was to do something a little different here, and I'm just going to let this dry now and move on to the nacelles. And the reason why, by the way, I did not just rip these off to replace them with wax paper is because I used adhesive to glue these into place, and when you rip them off, it's going to rip off the paint. So I have two coats of paint here. I have the primer as well as the chrome, and so you'd have to, prime it all over again. So I decided just to leave them as they are. All right. So I'll go ahead and move on now. All right. So let's go ahead and move on to the nacelles now. And if you hear a fan in the background, just bear with me. It's really hot in here, so I'm going to keep that running. The nacelles are made up or the engine pods are made up of a few different pieces here, and when I was test fitting everything together, I quickly came to realize that the clear piece, or the dome that's provided with the kit now to use in place of the solid plastic piece here, is much smaller than this piece, number 12. And so that kind of puzzled me when I actually went to look online at pictures of the original studio model. The dome actually rests right up against the engine itself, so it really didn't have this end cap with this ring piece here that separated it from the engine piece. So we're going to eliminate that, and we're going to go ahead and just use the clear piece. Okay, so the way I'm going to approach this is I've already drilled a hole to accommodate the 3mm LED that I'm going to use for this nacelle, and I'm going to glue the LED into place with super glue, and then piece the nacelle together, and then I have to work on the seams. Once that's completed, then I'm going to frost over the domes, and then I'm kind of torn as to what color to make the LED. I mean, it's just a clear LED right now, but I remember seeing the episode not long ago, and the domes really didn't light up with the original studio. At least I certainly didn't see it on the episode. So I think I may leave them just a clear white color, or I may tint them green. That seems to be popular because the later Romulan ships in Next Generation all had green nacelles. So I may do that. So we'll see. I'm not sure exactly which way to go on that. I'm going to go ahead and proceed now, and I'll catch you up here in a second. Alright, everything is moving pretty smoothly here. The wires are all connected now and have been insulated with shrink tubing. I now have the wings attached to the bottom section, and the nacelles have also been attached here as well. One thing to point out is the usefulness again of liquid mask film. I used that to shield the LED that I had to put in place prior to putting the nacelles together and painting them, and that protected it against any paint from getting on it. And you can see I'm just peeling it away here. The other side you can see is nice and clear, and it did a really good job at protecting that LED there. So what's next now, I think, is to go ahead and put the decals on the bottom side, mainly because I have to allow for this hole here, and I think it'll be easier if the decals are dry to be able to cut a nice hole there to accommodate the tube that's going to allow the wires to feed through. So that's what's next, and I will show you that when I'm done. Well, after test fitting the bottom piece and the top together, I decided to hold off putting any decals on and just glue the pieces together. And I'm glad I did, because once I did finally get everything together, there were some major gaps along the perimeter of the entire bottom section here. So I decided to go ahead and work on these gaps and seams because I've already put this much work into it. So I've already started to fill in these major gaps here with putty, and I still have a bit more work to do because I want to get enough putty in there so that I can smooth it over and hopefully hide a lot of these gaps here. So definitely a little bit more work to do, and I will get you caught up when that's all completed. Alright, so here we have the Bird of Prey decal now, been applied to the bottom of the ship, and the decals were okay to work with. A number of people have mentioned that they use the JT Graphics version, which I'm sure is better. The one thing I did not have available was a gloss coat to put over the model surface to make this easier to apply, and I would recommend that in this case because the decals are fairly large. In fact, that's generally the recommended method to apply decals, is to use that sort of thing where you put a gloss coat. It just allows them to slide easier. But even though it was a little challenging, it wasn't too bad. I just kept the surface wet. The only complaint I have is that they don't align very well. There's a gap here and there's some gaps along here, and they didn't quite line up where it's supposed to in terms of each of the sections there. But overall it looks okay. So a few other decals to finish on the top part of the model, and I'm going to be applying in the cover to the nacelles, and then I will show you the final finished model very shortly here. Alright guys, so here we have the completed... Oops, wait a minute, I forgot to turn off the cloaking device. And here we go. We have now the completed Bird of Prey here. This is, of course, the AMT kit. Measures about 8 inches from front to back, and about 13 inches from one wingtip to the other. Now the model is all lit up here, and as you can see, the nacelles here are glowing. And unfortunately, the video camera is bleaching them out a bit, and if you see in the background here, I have these cardboard pieces in place to actually help dim down the light here because it's too bright in this room at this point. But even with that, you can still see that the effect is being washed out. So let me just show you a picture of what it actually looks like. So you can see that the nacelles are glowing green. I decided to go with that color just for sake of continuity. As you know, the ships in the next generation all had green warp engines, so I decided to stick with that, and I really like the effect. So coming back to the model, again, just to review, the interior is lit by the strip lighting, and then I have a 3mm LED in each nacelle that I tinted green with the clear green color. And I decided to go with 3mm LEDs simply because I didn't want them to look like searchlights. I thought 5mm LEDs would have been too bright. So this to me is a nice amount of illumination. So again, the model kit here itself suffers from a lot of inaccuracy. One of the biggest problems with the kit is that the hull here isn't angled. Let me put up a picture of the original studio miniature, and you can see how the hull comes down at an angle versus just straight down. And coming back to our model here, I just want to point out I'm satisfied with the way the portholes turned out along the sides of the hull here. As you can tell with the original miniature, there are quite a few portholes there. I decided to do this for a couple different reasons. One is I didn't think I could get them all to align. There are quite a few portholes, as I said, and if you can't really get them to line up properly, it's just going to look like a big mess. And secondly, I just thought, I don't know, I thought this was a little more simplistic look and a little cleaner look for me, so I'm pretty happy with the way this came out. I do think one nice addition that they included in this kit are the decals for the upper part of the model here. I remember when my brother bought this model when we were kids, it had no decals for the upper part at all, or the tail section. So that's pretty much it for this model here, and what I'm going to do now with my videos is give you guys at least my personal opinion in terms of a rating, and I'm going to break it down to several different categories. First category is going to be accuracy, and the second is going to be ease of assembly. The third is going to be likability, and the fourth will be affordability. So for the first few categories, it'll be scaled on a 1 to 5 rating, 1 being the worst and 5 of course being the best. And the affordability will be 1 to 3 dollar signs, with $3 being expensive. So let me just give you a brief rundown here for this model. The first category, which is the accuracy, is going to be rated a 2. I know that you might think that's generous, but I'm going to give them a little credit for adding in a few extra pieces here and for the decals for the upper part of the model. And in terms of ease of assembly, I'm going to give the model a 3, although I'm a little hesitant to even do that. The main reason being it's a straightforward model to put together, but unfortunately the pieces don't fit well together, and there are a lot of gaps and areas that you have to really work on because the pieces just don't align well. In terms of likability, I'm going to give it a 3 because I've always actually liked this ship, and you know, when all's said and done, it makes an okay replica of the model. It's a nice piece to add to your collection. And as I was editing this video, I realized I forgot to add in affordability here, and I would give it a single dollar sign because this kit was fairly expensive. It ran me less than $25. Alright, so I guess that's it for this video. If you have any questions, as always, feel free to contact me if you have any questions. You can always leave a message on my YouTube channel or email me. As always, thank you very much for watching, and I always appreciate the nice comments that you guys leave, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.